general regret of people saying, "Hey, I should feel happier," or "Hey, I don't know if I made the right choice," or "Hey, what the hell did I just do? Like, here comes my mortgage payment. What am I doing?" And it seems to be this common occurrence in home buyer groups, especially first time home buyers.
Welcome to season 2 of the Real Estate Replay. This season, we're opening up the co host chair to agents, lenders, and other professionals across the country. These handpicked co hosts will help us dissect stories told by sellers and buyers and help point out the good, the bad, the unethical, or perhaps illegal things that they experienced. We'll learn what to look for, what to avoid, and how to not get screwed when selling or buying.
This podcast is a bit different because I usually share a single story about something that happened, good, bad, and how to avoid it. But there's a common theme I keep seeing come up, and that is regret. And not so much regret as in I hated the home to begin with, or I had to buy it for negative circumstances, life changes, but just general regret of people saying, "Hey, I should feel happier," or "Hey, I don't know if I made the right choice," or "Hey, what the hell did I just do? Like, here comes my mortgage payment. What am I doing?" And it seems to be this common occurrence in home buyer groups, especially first time home buyers. And so I just wanted to talk about those feelings and if they're common, because I know when we built our home, my husband's like the financial brain and I'm the creative brain. So I remember moving into our home thinking like, this feels weird. Like, I don't feel comfortable. I feel like I'm at a hotel, all my stuff is here, but it just doesn't feel like mine. And then my husband, on the other hand, was freaking out about, wow, I've never paid a mortgage payment like this. I can't believe I agreed to pay this much money over 30 years. Like, what did I do? Are we going to be okay? And so I guess I wanted to have you on here, which I'd love for you to quickly introduce yourself. You're Kimberly Zeidner, and you are in Orlando, currently in a hurricane. While you're talking to me, it's okay. You're a trooper. So I don't know, before we dive into like, is this normal? Why don't you take a few minutes and just introduce yourself and your background and how you got into real estate?
Sure. So like you said, I'm Kimberly Zeidner. I'm a realtor in Orlando. I went to Florida Atlantic University in South Florida, where I studied sociology and got a minor in psychology. So I very much use that education to help me in real estate now. I've been in Orlando for 5 years selling real estate, and I've been very fortunate to have made it to the 5 year mark, because 85% of agents don't.
Right.
And I love watching your TikToks and giving all of that information about consumer advocacy, because there's a reason why so many agents don't make it. So I'm very grateful. And so, yeah, this topic is very important because there are a lot of reasons. And I think that it is more prevalent now in a post-COVID world where we went through all of that kind of craziness in the market. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. So my main question is, how common is it? And that we're not talking about regret from like a negative purchase, like a divorce, a death in the family, a big move you didn't want to make, but just like an everyday home buyer. How many of your clients go through the "what the hell did I just do"
Yeah.
feeling?
So I don't know if they're just not sharing that with me. I personally have not had any buyers have that experience, or rather tell me about that experience. And I do think that a lot of it, I think there's two different things. I think there's the buyer's remorse or regret. And then I think there's just not feeling comfortable yet in the home. And so the not feeling comfortable part, that just comes with time. And like you said, like moving your stuff in, getting to know your neighbors, things like that. But the remorse, I think, comes, like I said, more so now because people made very rash decisions in this crazy market. And I mean, we've heard the stories of people spending, $100,000 over appraised value and dumping all of their money into something that they could have at some point be potentially upside down on their mortgage. And so I think that people didn't take the time to kind of think through on their finances, because at the end of the day, buyer's remorse stems largely from money. Okay.
Right.
It's the feeling that I spent too much. It's the feeling that the maintenance is going to be too much. Did I make a decision that's going to affect other financial decisions? And so I think that a lot of this right now is happening because people didn't really think through their finances and say, this is the payment I'm comfortable with, before getting into these bidding wars and trying to win. And some of the winning comes from that mentality of I have to win, but some of it was I need a home to live in and I need to do whatever it takes to get it.
Is Orlando still pretty bad, or is it cycling out, like balancing out?
It's balancing more now. I was actually just speaking with someone yesterday about how we're kind of in this weird phase right now where we just went through all this craziness where sellers had all of the power. And now things have shifted. The interest rate increased so quickly that buyers haven't quite adjusted. And they're getting inundated with, media, whether it's the news, social media, whatever it is. And I think that when people are speaking, it is very area specific. And so people here in Orlando are like, oh, well, everyone's saying that, we can ask for closing costs and we can get all of these credits, but sellers rather haven't necessarily shifted their mentality yet. Right. And so it's kind of like everyone's at a standstill with each other, and it really depends on the seller. But right now it's kind of just evening out.
Right. And I feel like at this point, when you're reading the news, it's really hard to keep it local. And I also sometimes feel like, I don't know if you remember last year, it was this big, nobody wants to buy a home, everybody wants to rent push. And I kept thinking, like, I even asked Mike Del Preti, I was like, where is that coming from? Like, what studies, where did this come from? And the only thing he could link it back to was a study done by a rental company who questioned their happy renters, right? That it wasn't homeowners, it wasn't. And that's
Right.
what it came back to. And so it's like, when you read the news, you kind of have to go through to see, like, where is this coming from, right? Like if it's in a really bad market, maybe your market's not as comparable. And so I think talking to someone like you in Orlando or in your city that's local, that understands what's happening is kind of like key to avoiding that what did I do phase. So what's happening.
Well, and interestingly, a lot of what we see now is clickbait. And so these like really outstanding headlines about something where, again, it might be more on a national level and not a local level. Ryan Sarhant, who's on $1 Million Listing New York, he's a mentor of mine. And he actually just did a TikTok the other day talking about some headline where it said that mortgage applications were down 90% over last year. Well, sure, because last year was so crazy. It was the height of mortgage applications. And so when you're comparing, it's comparing apples to oranges, essentially.
Right. Were they throwing in refinancing too into that big mix of?
Who knows? I believe so, yes, but I don't know. But again, that's the whole thing. You don't know where the information has come from. Years ago, after college, I was a data analyst for a company. Oh. And so data gets manipulated to tell the story that you want to tell. There's always ways to factor something in or out of a report to make it tell the story that you want.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I was just talking with someone on TikTok today about rent to own, which is like a whole other, I'm sure we could do a whole segment of that a different time. And it was funny. This one company was like, we have 51% success rate. And I'm like, why 51? Like, that's a very specific, like you just made it over the average. Like, right. Love to see that information. But we'll dive into that a separate time because I feel like that's a whole other hot mess. All right. So we talk about triggers. So money, change. What about like the release of the emotions now that the process is over? Because I feel like it's kind of intense and you're making really big life decisions within like 2 months or 3 months or 1 month, So is there sort of a release too for people that like you kind of get so caught up in here's what's happening, here's what we're doing next, boom, boom, boom. And then you close and you're like, oh God, what did I do? Like you get so caught up in the emotions and the aspect of it. Like, is there a certain point where you see a lot of buyers start to I don't want to say panic, but like at what point in the process do they start to get like nervous? Is it like after the offer is accepted? Is it the inspection? Is it like the week before closing? Like what points do you think buyers start to get like, I don't want to say second guessing what they're doing, but
Yeah.
just the reality hits, right?
Yeah, I think that there are different stages to it. And I think that there's different panics for different reasons. So you mentioned, the offer getting accepted and the inspection period. I think those are still where they're in that phase of excitement. And so they're more concerned about, if the offer is going to get accepted, if it's going to be a clean inspection, what's going to show up on the inspection report that's going to cause any sort of financial hardship, that type of thing. But so it's still kind of the excitement. And then I think when it really starts to set in, again, bringing it back to the financial aspect, is when that appraisal gets done. I think that that's when people really start to think, because if it comes in high, you're excited. You're like, okay, well, I'm building equity into something before I even, purchase it. But when it comes in low, some buyers get excited because they go, okay, well, now's an opportunity to renegotiate and potentially get a lower sales price. But then it starts to think, wait, hold on, am I spending too much money? Why did it appraise low? Would it appraise lower next month? And that's when I think it kind of spirals and the panic starts to set in. It's still mixed with the excitement of closing. You know what I mean? They still want the house. Then, like you said, after closing, then I think that all of the emotion kind of wells up, and it happens a lot. I know I experience it with my anxiety. I can go through a very stressful situation and be very clear-headed about it, and then once it settles, all of a sudden I'll have a panic attack.
Me too. Me too. I used to do. I used to do in my past life marketing and events,
Mm-hmm.
and I could never figure out how calm and focused I was during events when like the whole thing could be on fire and I'm like, it's fine, we'll figure it out. Never phased. But then I would go home and like something small would happen and I would just be like in tears. I'm like, what's happening to me? Like I was fine all day. It's like a stuffing, I guess, situation. You
Yeah.
just muscle through and stuff it. But eventually
Well, it's
everything comes up, right?
yeah.
All right. Here's my next question. What are some ways that you can pull yourself out of that feeling? So, I have seen some people who buy a home and have all these big plans to fix it, right? Like, and change
Mhm.
all these things. But then they start to do things here in this room and things here in that room. And then everything is just like chaotic and a hot mess. And so
Mhm.
the one thing I've noticed is if you're going to make changes into your home, just do like one room at a time
Yep.
so that like that mess is contained, right? It's not, and I mean, my brain, I would be all over the place. So my house would be sprinkled with projects everywhere that probably wouldn't
Mhm.
get finished half the time. But I think to focus on one project, right? And kind of get that accomplished, feel accomplished, start to make it your own, but don't go in guns blazing like I'm going to
Yeah.
do all this and I'm going to
Yeah.
change this and we're going to change the kitchen because like we said that when we built because we did all like the cheap stuff because that's what
Mhm.
we could afford and we're
Mhm.
like, oh, we'll change it this and that, and here I am like 10 years and we still haven't
Yeah.
still have but our kids have also trashed it and so have the dogs, so that's a different story.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing. So like be realistic about your projects and your timelines,
Mhm.
but like what else do you think could kind of pull a buyer out of that what the hell did I do phase and
Yeah.
moment?
Well, so if the buyer is someone who already lived locally and they have friends in the area and family, I recommend immediately having like a housewarming party, because your friends and family are going to come in. They're going to be so excited for you and they're going to like really hype everything up. And you are going to then feel that and you're going to feel positively about it. Because again, sometimes remorse comes from opinions of others.
Right.
And so to get that validation, like, yeah, you made the right choice, this is a great house, that's really, really helpful. It's obviously more challenging if it's someone relocating to a new area. As a realtor, what I do work a lot with relocation clients, so I like to really hold on to those relationships and make them feel like they have someone here,
Mhm.
because I think that that really helps. I mean, I became the emergency contact for my clients' kids
Yeah.
because they're like, we don't have anyone here. If there's an emergency, can you pick the kids up from school? I'm like, yeah, of course. So just to kind of be that person, because they need someone to lean on, because they might experience that feeling longer because they've been taken out of where they were comfortable. They've been displaced. You know what I mean?
I think that's
So
really important too. I think when you're looking at your real estate agent, is like, do they still talk to you after you close? And it's not that you have to be friends or best friends, but like, especially in this situation, I can't tell you how many people have closed and then they just never hear from their agent again. So it was like this emotional experience, and then they just feel like they got ghosted. But then
yeah,
they'll get like a letter in a month, like a mailer of
it
like
feels weird.
recently sold, right? Like trying to keep in touch with you in case you want to sell or buy again, but like no interest in maintaining a relationship, which is fine. But especially for relocation, I think like establishing, not that you have to be an emergency contact, but being that person for them, I think is what's supposed to set out a realtor from a real estate agent, or
Yeah.
that was part of it. It's personal.
Well, I would argue that when you are doing that thing where you're just sending out mailers to someone, you have now set the relationship as transactional.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sets apart, real estate agents from great realtors, is making sure that the relationship you built continues to be a relationship, because you do get very close to people. I mean, you really become very intimate with them, and like knowing the way they think about things, the way they handle their finances, and you hear all of their concerns as you're going through the process. So I don't really understand how a relationship like that can be transactional,
Right.
because these people trust you. They're putting everything in you. And so to kind of just walk away from, I mean, like I tell my clients at close, I'm like, hey, so relationship doesn't end here. You're going to hear from me
Yeah.
all the time. It's going
I
to
know
get
where you
annoying.
live. Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I'll find you. I have all your
Yeah.
information.
So, I mean, like just doing things like, I have a holiday client appreciation party coming up, just so that it kind of builds that community. And then my clients can talk to each other and build relationship. That's what community at the end of the day is, what makes someone feel like they're a part of more than just living in their house.
Right, right. Any other tips to help people find their community? Because I can tell you, it took us, and I don't know because everybody was new in
Hmm.
our neighborhood. So when we had moved in, not a lot of us had kids.
Hmm.
It took, I'm honestly, and maybe it's me, like 2 years to
Hmm.
get that like comfortable relationship. Do you guys want to come up? 2 years to
Yeah. No, I
get
think
there.
that's
And I'm like, is there something wrong with us? Like, and I mean, now we all have kids, and our kids just float around from house to house. But in that
yeah.
beginning days, like, what's a good way to meet your neighbors? I guess is a better question, because I obviously didn't do it right. So how do you meet your neighbors?
I mean, okay, so you know how we're very used to the idea of the neighbors like bringing you a pie when you move in. I don't think that's really what happens anymore. I
Right.
think that people are very hesitant of other people, and so they don't want to get involved. Doesn't mean that they're bad people, they just don't know. And
Right.
so I think you, as the new person, should kind of go around with maybe a little something to be like, hey, just moved in. I actually am working on a deal right now. It's a condo, and my buyer is going to be living on the first floor. And then the unit right above her, they share air conditioning lines. And
Oh,
so
okay.
the inspector was talking to her, and he said, listen, their lines come in through your house. And so you're going to have to flush things at certain times. He's going through the whole process. He's like, the best thing for you to do is go build that relationship with the neighbors, so that whenever something needs to be done, you guys can work together to do it. And I'm like, yeah. So after closing, we're going to go bring her a little gift. I mean,
Right,
just
right.
something to build that. And like I said, the idea has always been that the neighbors come to welcome you, but I think that you have to be the one to put yourself out there. And it's hard.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. And maybe it's post COVID, but I feel like we've all become maybe a little more introverted, a little bit, which will come back around. We'll get back
Yeah.
to being more social. But for some people, it's really hard. So if you can put yourself out there, that's probably the best first step that you can do.
Yeah. People who have dogs, I think, always do well when they move because you're outside walking the dog, and then everyone kind of meet the other neighbors that are walking their dogs, and so that's just kind of a more natural way to do it than going door to door. But
right.
talking to your neighbors is always going to be a win for you because, hey, your neighbors are the ones that are going to watch your house for you when something is going on. If you're out of town, whatever, you want to build those relationships.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I would text my neighbor like, hey, your garage door's open. Like it's 11:30 at night, like just as a reminder. Or the amount of times where like someone's dog is not in the yard where it's supposed to be, and you're like grabbing the dog, like you know where it lives, like
Yeah,
but it takes time to get there. So I think that's normal.
for sure.
All right. So any extra advice for people that maybe feel they're questioning? So first, know that that's normal, right? Like it's okay to feel like, what did I do?
Yep.
Um, but what about like before you jump into it, like budgets and finances? I'm sure that's going to be top priority. What do you suggest to people before they even start looking?
Yeah, I would say before and during and after, and we've kind of touched on all of this, but organization is going to be key. So before organizing your finances, knowing where you're comfortable and making sure you don't push that boundary because that's when you're going to start to feel the regret. And then during the process, staying organized, knowing exactly what's happening at all times, keeping the records of your inspection so that whatever it is that you want to be doing to the house post closing, you have all of that information right there. And then after, like you said, whatever it is that you're tackling, keep it organized and keep it kind of in one space because you do get overwhelmed when you try to do too much at once and you don't have that feeling of pride when you finish something because it's taking so much longer because you're doing each room, in different order. And so focus on one room, get it done, be excited, and you'll feel a lot better. It just organization is always in anything in life is going to make you feel more comfortable.
Right, right. Just got to get there. Oh, I did think of one thing. When you close, delete the apps off your phone. Stop going on Zillow. Nothing personal on Zillow, but or
Yeah.
whatever your app was. Because I do see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, our dream house just came on the market, but we
Yep.
closed." And you're like,
Yep.
it might not have been your dream house. Like your brain's telling you it is, but you weren't inside it. You don't know what's wrong with it. Like it could be a hot mess inside. You
Yeah.
know, or you end up it's almost like social media too. You end up just comparing.
Yep.
Why doesn't my house look like this? Or I wish I would have bought that. And so I think if you can stop comparing your house to other houses, knowing you're not going to buy anything, right? Like
Right.
if you're still shopping, fine, leave it. But like if you close, it's time to
Yeah.
say goodbye to those home apps. You need to just stop looking because I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to help you.
No.
Um, unless all the homes are awful that come on, then you'll feel better about yourself.
Right.
But
There'll always be that one then that sneaks through and you're like, oh, I missed out on that one. And there's no be happy with what you have.
yeah, yeah, just don't compare. Delete the apps and stop comparing yourself. You'll be fine. Okay, so I forgot to tell you this, but I usually ask one final question. And that is, what is one thing that you feel strongly that buyers and sellers should know? And it could be some mistake you see always people making. It could be your hill to die on, like mine, and how I hate referral platforms and the best agent websites and all that stuff. I can't stand this, but that's my hill to die on. So
Yeah.
for you as a real estate agent, what's a misconception or something you think is just really important that people are missing in that transactional piece?
Well, I'm going to tell you, and I agree with you. You really have to know your real estate agent. Don't, and I'm not just saying this because of the your platform and whatnot, but it really is true that so many people don't understand how these apps like Zillow work,
Mhm.
and it you have to be able to feel a connection with that person because you're going to be working so close together. So it's totally fine to interview 3 agents, 4 agents, whatever it is. Find the one that you feel that you can trust. Because let me tell you something, you can tell when someone has your best interests at heart or when someone's just chasing the commission check. Okay. Ask certain questions, think about them in advance, and say, this is what I want to find out, and I want to get this person's true reaction from it. And if you don't feel comfortable with that person, do not work with them. Or
Right.
if you're on, like, say, the buyer side and you didn't sign a buyer agency agreement, okay, or if you have a sort of open, I don't know how different states do contracts, but like a listing agreement, if there's no cancellation, whatever it is, know what you're agreeing to. And if you don't feel comfortable with your agent and you can walk away from that, do it, because you're doing yourself a disservice if you continue with someone just because.
Right, right. Absolutely. And it's funny too, because I see people in these communities that are like, I'm really not happy with my agent. We haven't been. What do I do? And I'm like, the
Mhm.
minute you start having that feeling, because that's also trust, right? Like that's
Mhm.
also, this person's going to be giving you answers to things. And if you're questioning them already, it's not going to get any better, right?
Yeah.
So it's like cut the cord. Like I do feel like I 100% understand the buyer agency agreement. I totally understand that.
Mhm.
I do think there should probably be like a test drive where maybe we go see one home together and see how it goes and see what you say. And then like if you're comfortable, then yeah, absolutely. Like I'm
Yeah.
totally for signing that stuff. But like I do think from a buyer standpoint, you have to kind of test drive them a little bit to see,
Yeah.
because there's agents that walk through the house with you and point things out and talk and share things with you. And there's other ones that just like go do some business calls while you're walking around and you're like,
Right.
oh,
Right.
like I have questions. What is this? I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think? So
Well,
I
I
think,
mean, my rule of thumb, I've never had buyers sign a buyer agency agreement. And yes, I do understand. And I do understand that generally it's protecting the agent more than anything and protecting their commission. I don't want someone to feel obligated to work with me. If
right,
they don't feel like I'm the right agent for them, so be it. And like I said, I've never had someone sign one and I've never lost a buyer because of me. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Um, but I will say, always get a pre-approval before I show buyers
Yeah,
anything, because I really want to protect my safety. I want to protect my time. I don't want to be showing someone a house that they're not qualified for. So for me, I will show you homes without a buyer agency agreement, but I got to get that pre-approval.
yeah. And I don't blame you for that. I think before diving into this, I used to be like,
Mhm.
why? Like I know what I have, but you really don't know. Like there are websites out there right now that will tell you what you can be pre-approved for. One
Mhm.
company in particular that claims to do it for you without touching your credit score, or it asks like 6 questions and that's it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is a marketing ploy. Like that company is just wanting to get your data, pull you in and sell you off to a lender. So like those little instant things where they tell you in 2 minutes what you can afford might not necessarily be what you can afford.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I get the need and the want for online lending, but I just think there's something really important about being able to sit down with someone to say like, here's all my stuff, like here's all my taxes, here's everything you could ever want to know about me, like what does this look like, what can I actually
Yeah.
afford?
Yeah.
You don't get that really from a website usually.
Listen, I always tell people, as far as the websites are concerned, if you need to get a pre approval quickly for whatever reason, I mean, I was just working with a buyer. I know her personally. And
Mhm.
so I wasn't concerned about the whole pre approval issue. But then, of course, she found the home that she wanted to make an offer on and she didn't have the pre approval. I'm like, listen, my lenders are going to take a couple of days to get it. So, like, if you need a pre approval letter quickly just to serve a purpose, sure, go online and do it. But always work with a local lender to actually close the deal.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just feel like you'll save yourself in the long run, I think too,
Mhm. Oh, I mean, I can
especially when you get to
very,
the end. Oh my God. And
yeah.
it's so funny because all of the real estate agents I talk to, the same companies come up all the time
Oh,
about who had issues. I won't say which ones because I don't want to get sued, but
yeah, yeah.
it's the
But I mean,
same ones.
I've gotten stuck working with them before, and we will not close on time. Fees weren't disclosed. I mean, it ends up being a mess. And unfortunately, like, I always want to get to the closing table and have happy buyers and sellers. And when things like that happen, now that happens, and that also leads to uneasy feelings when,
Right,
like, the closing didn't go smoothly for whatever reason. Now you start to, like, second guess everything. So
right.
having a local person who can get the deal done the way that it needs to be is so important.
Absolutely. Awesome. Anything else we missed?
I don't think so.
No. This was great. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're on Selling Later Search. People can find you there. Anywhere else you feel, what's the best place to find you?
I usually like my Instagram
Okay.
at Closed by Kimberly. It's the same handle on TikTok. Both content, the type of content that I do is completely different on both. So if you're looking for more curated, educational type stuff, that's going to be on Instagram. TikTok's a little bit more fun and easy.
I don't know if any of us know really what we're doing with TikTok. I mean, I feel like I do sometimes, and then I'll be like, man, this is great. I bet this will get a ton of views, and it gets like 200. And
I
then
know.
I'll do something that's so stupid, and it'll get like 10,000 views, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I have no idea. I'm never going
It
to.
makes more sense.
I just need to hire someone to help me figure it out because my brain, it's one more thing I just can't focus on,
Yeah.
On my house projects, I can't do either. Have a question or a story for us? Hit us up at therealestatereplay.com.